Warm welcome to Jason Swamy, who's our unit master speaker session today. He's a huge inspiration. He's a founding member and director of the festival Wonderfruit. It's one of the biggest in Asia. He also runs the Robot Heart community, which is one of the most well-known groups at Burning Man. He runs an agency which called Do What We Love, and excited to hear his experience and insights. Please put your hands together for Jason.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Michael. Really appreciate what you're doing and the community that you've built. And I'm excited to share whatever insights that you guys are looking for, and kind of a little bit of my journey.
Amazing. So in terms of the format today, I guess we'll start with maybe if you could share some facts into your journey thus far, like I guess where you're from, how you got started, how you've progressed over the years, and love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm originally from Hong Kong, and my father's Indian, my mother's Chinese, and I grew up in a very interesting time in Hong Kong where it was the colonial Hong Kong, where the British was running Hong Kong. So while I was Asian, I was in a very international context. I mean, I went to international English school, and going to English school, I was actually a minority in my own country. So that in my own city. So that was kind of interesting to go into that. Learned a lot. I came in, my parents, back then it was considered jungle fever, as you would say, like you have the two biggest populations in the world, and they ended up marrying each other, Indian and Chinese. So it was quite taboo, going to British school, trying to find my identity. My dad was an entrepreneur. He came from India and went to, he lived in Chungking Mansions. And I don't know if you're familiar with Chungking Mansions in Hong Kong. It's a legendary place that has spawned like things like, inspired Wong Kar-wai movies, Blade Runner, and all these things. It's basically a city ghetto. And through the kind of the trading boom in Hong Kong, he became quite successful. He put me into, we didn't have much of a relationship because all he did was just kind of he was able to throw money at the problem and put me through, the best schools he could. And I didn't know anything other than business because that's all he was in. So I didn't have any imagination. I was into creative things. I love creative things, but it wasn't never nurtured. The most creative thing I knew about what I did was what my parents did was marketing. So I'd never been to Boston, and I applied to school in Boston and Bentley, went there and studied marketing. But none of the skills, and didn't really have a mentor. So none of the things that I really loved was nurtured until I discovered kind of, I was really into music, and my social life kind of was really where all the learning happened. I ended up going to 8 schools in 9 years, and that gave me all my skills. I mean, 8 schools in 9 years in many different places. I was student body president of 3 of them, prestigious boarding schools, Webb, and all that stuff. But it was my life has always been about synchronicity and flow and meeting people and then going with that journey. And I learned more outside of school than I did going to school. I learned more by making mistakes and meeting amazing people than I did through academics. At some point I'd love to, I think just that alone will become a skill set, being able to adapt, being able to kind of communicate with people, understand people, reading trends, developing culture, being able to formulate a community. And I did that through entertainment. And so I'm very fortunate that it wasn't by design. It was literally by happenstance, synchronicity, and these, being kicked out of the schools and stuff like that. But now these became very valuable schools, and also learning to, being ashamed of your culture and then realizing at the end, oh, wow, I can speak 3 languages. I'm from interesting cultures that are now all booming, and being proud of who you are. Whereas before I kind of hid all that, and celebrating creativity. So I didn't really learn how to get into flow because it's now just a skill set that people like Jamie Wheel and these folks are teaching. But flow is just one of those things that kind of happens it through synchronicity and through kind of, if you're really into something, the laws of the universe somehow kind of gravitate towards you, and you start to meet people and things start to fall into place. So I've never had a job interview in my life, but, you know, from like throwing, you know, from leaving, my first job actually was with agency.com, with iTraffic. iTraffic was the only interview I ever had, and that was through banner advertising. The agency.com bought it. The bubble burst in 2000, and then I was a bedroom DJ. I couldn't get a gig, so I threw my first party. After I threw my first party, I ended up becoming the #1 promoter in New York for underground, throwing the longest running event in New York history on Sunday called Le Souk Sunday Sessions. That led to me doing an event in Sullivan Room, which became an iconic club place. And then I met a chef called Jason Aroni, who started the Rose Cafe, and also met Jason Volanek, who started La Esquina, The Box, and all these other things. And we've started this bar called Cantina, this restaurant. We didn't have a liquor license, that failed, but it led me to open Movida, which tied me up with all this other people. You know, Justice played for $500, you know, working with the Kings of Leon, the, you know, Chili Peppers, Coldplay, The Rapture, Strokes, and all this stuff. And that failed miserably. And because I thought you, as a promoter, you could just open a club, but owning a club and being a promoter are two different things. Build it and they don't come. So I had no idea what operations was. And then the financial tsunami happened. My parents' business collapsed. They were in the trading business. I moved back to Hong Kong. That's where I met my wife, my future wife, my wife currently, and I spent 6 years in India. So from being a very narcissistic person that's all about attention and partying and everything, I learned I was in the middle of nowhere in Sri Perumbudur outside of Chennai, running a factory, garment factory, where no one gives a fuck who you are, no one cares, and you're dealing with a bunch of farmers. And that humbled me, and I started learning about operations and Six Sigma and supply chain and all that stuff. So that really created a new dimension and matured me. And at that same time, you know, Robot Heart has started. You know, a friend of mine was like, hey, you got to go to Burning Man. And I'm like, everyone's been telling me Lee Bard, Scumfrog, and Gio, who sold his company to Philips when he invented the color changing LED. And I'm like, dude, I don't do that stuff. I'm not a hippie. You know, I go to Ibiza and all that. And finally, we're just starting Robot Heart, and I went, and I bent on my knee, kissed his foot, and I said, I apologize. I ended up DJing 40 hours that week. And the rest is kind of history. With Robot Heart, it was when we realized that music is a catalyst to connect people, and we connected a lot of people. And, you know, when Elon tweets that he loves Robot Heart, you know, you've done something right. And at least someday when my son gets older, I can show him that. But that aside, when Robot Heart kind of really became big, it opened the doors to meeting so many amazing people. Part of the reason why I'm talking to you guys right now is because of that. And also, you know, Gino connected us to a lot of different people who's become a mentor, who just tried to interrupt this call for a second. I'm you know, meeting Dekai because of Wonderfruit and Burning Man, of course. So all that led to, you know, the flow and synchronicity. I mean, and this wasn't through a structured academia. This is just through kind of, through just human nature. And you can't bottle that up. I mean, unfortunately, and this is for the academics to do. I just kind of went with it. I was the guinea pig rat. But, you know, that led to Further Future, which was a success in certain ways. I mean, we took all the things we loved about Burning Man and kind of institutionalized it, and we couldn't get more funding. But because of that, Gino took Pete to one of our events and said, hey, I love what you're doing. About to do this in Asia. I'm like, well, what is it about? I go, is it just a festival? I go, no, it's about celebrating Asian culture, bringing the East to West to East, East to West, and it's about sustainability. I'm like, I'm in, because I'm about Further Future is about co-creating a better future. And then Wonderfruit's about preserving what you have, two sides of the same coin. So, and then both of those things just kind of opened doors to working with and meeting just amazing people and being just a platform to celebrate what great things people are doing. And it's all about values. It's all about aligning on values. It's all about, you know, celebrating community and culture. So It's been a bless. I'm super grateful for all of that because I mean, the company I have is called Do What You Love, and the investment company I have is called Love What You Do. And it's just basically how I live my life. You know, I'm working and playing at the same time. And I can't ask for more. Every day is a blessing to meet amazing people and learn from them, and also impart my knowledge to them. And also, you keep on making mistakes and keep on enjoying that, because that keeps the neuroplasticity. It keeps you learning. It's the stress in the body and stress of the mind that keeps you growing.
Amazing. And I guess having built these incredible communities, like what sort of advice or insights have you come across over the years?
I think my biggest learning is being authentic, just really being passionate and doing what you love. Be inspired by other people, but stick to your guns and what you really believe in. And there's always going to be someone, and if you're really authentic and believe in it, there's always going to be someone that loves it as well. You can't like blow with the wind, because then you lose your integrity and people aren't going to follow. It's kind of like that video that went viral where there's one crazy dude that starts dancing on the mountain. And because he was so authentic about the way he danced on the mountain, that someone else joined. And after everyone joined, they all joined, right? It's kind of like the internet, like, no one believed in the internet, but few people did, and then suddenly everyone else does. It's like, hey, no one, and you don't want to be the last guy who believes in it, right? You don't want to be the last guy that goes, oh yeah, blockchain. You know what I mean? So I think the tips I've learned is, if you do what you love and you do it with passion and you do it with authenticity and you do it with integrity, there's going to be people that follow you, whether it's like fucking, knitting sweaters or selling a sleep apnea tool for your nose, whatever it is. If it's authentic, it's believe. And of course, I think now if it's science-based too, then that's even, that validates it further. So I think the biggest thing is that don't take yourself too seriously. I think it's really important to surround yourself with amazing people that are smarter than you. I think it's amazing. It's good to, of course, I think there's a fine balance between humility and cockiness. You do need to have a little bravado. And then you also need to understand when to balance that with humility. I really think there's nothing more important than having all the cliches are true. I really do think the great cliches, and I think you really do need to have amazing people around you. Look with the Unit Ventures thing, you've got this massive network of people. You can't know everything, and you can't be an expert in everything, and everyone plays a part in the ecosystem. And it's important to be able to go, hey, look, I can pull this person. I can rely on this person to do this. My skill set is connecting, and my skill set is being a platform and creating platforms to bring on experts and bring on people to connect, to create more stuff. I think my great skill set is really, I know how to kind of create culture and community and make things cool, which then creates a platform for people to listen. And then I can bring on all these amazing experts who might not have a voice, and then give them a voice to share all the amazing things they're doing.
Amazing. And what really excites you at the moment? Like, what's something that you're really passionate about and that you think like this is something which people should pay attention to?
I think all the things that are impressing you are the same things that are impressing us, right? Clearly, the plant-based food revolution, circular economy, donut economics, the Reddit fucking bandits, of course, blockchain, crypto. I think all the AI stuff, everything Kathy Woods is talking about, she's my hero. Everything Chamath is talking about, he's my next hero. I think, there's just a ton of stuff in the circular economy, permaculture stuff. It's great. The seed stuff that I'm involved in is super, super inspiring. All the democratized technologies out there, following the footsteps of Shopify is great. The ability for technology to give everyone a voice is amazing. I think the move back into long form content The guys from Rebel Wisdom, they're letting you help to make sense of shit so you're not getting fed bullshit and misinformation and be able to digest better, because even people with the best intent don't know they're fed bullshit and sped it, which is bad, right? But doesn't mean they're bad people. I think there's some benefits of COVID where we're able to now deepen our relationships with friends that we never spent time with, and your family. I think that all the science-based stuff that's really kind of validating psychedelics is obviously something that's great. I've been doing deep K-holes for fucking 20 years, right? So now it's great that people are seeing that and understanding that ties to neuroplasticity, neurogenesis. I mean, I'm getting my yoga teacher training, and I'm going to trademark Koga, so that I can be the Bikram yoga of Koga, ketamine yoga, except minus the rapey stuff. So no rapey stuff. But in all seriousness, I think the ability that we can all chat and connect in these kind of environments, and that's interesting. I mean, we're living in such an exciting time in the in the world of exponentials and Wright's law and all this stuff. So I think it's amazing. I mean, back in the day, you could communicate with like a couple people, and now you can communicate with everyone all over that you never would be. I mean, so it's just. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to answer some questions. Well, the main benefits, upsides for COVID for me. The main benefits and upside for COVID for me has been, as a father and as a husband, having deep, meaningful relationship with my family. I travel so much in the world, and my dad was never around. The first 1,000 days of your kid's life is when the brain grows the fastest. It's also when they become who they are. If you look at something like Gabor Mate, what he talks about. And I've just been grateful. I just read 10 books to my son this morning. That would have never happened pre-COVID. I mean, I'm taking a ton of certification courses. I haven't taken a course in a while, and having that time to learn, change your mindset to be grateful, far more grateful. That's been great for COVID. Just understanding that how to deal with stress, pivoting, that's been great for COVID. Just changing to long form content, appreciating your friends more, learning to be grateful. Those are all benefits of COVID. Let me see what other questions there are real quick. Sorry. What about when you go to a new place, how do you make new friends? How do you find out whom and from them community you need to meet? Well, okay. I think I made a joke recently. I was like, I don't think we're too far away from when a few years from now, you're going to tell someone, the kid's going to be like, what's a club? I'm going to be like, hey, a club is a place where people used to meet in physical format and make friends and have drinks and together and potentially formulate relationships, social, sexual, or professional. And that's not too far from the. How do you go about doing it in a contrived and calculated manner? And for me, I've always kind of looked at it to try to doing it in an authentic, open way. You have to surrender. You have to be vulnerable, right? And when people see that, they naturally gravitate towards. I think if you're too calculated and you go, let me do an AR app on this person and see where they come from and what they do, what they're about, and then I'm going to go and meet them because of that, then you might miss out a lot of people that just don't give a shit about that, right? I mean, just because you have 50,000 friends doesn't mean you're really an influencer. Most influencers I know don't have any following on social, right? So I think you need to really, I think being vulnerable, being authentic, maybe have a few drinks, that'll loosen you up a little bit, right? To want to go meet people. I mean, I remember the days, thank God I don't have to use Tinder, when I actually had to figure out how to talk to a girl, or for other people, talk to a guy, whatever you need to do. So I think those skills are really important. And I think, yeah, I don't know if I answered that well, but let's look at some other questions here. Hold up, I mean, even I'm not that great at using this thing. Hold up. Is someone started? What do you? Okay. What am I most concerned about? I think what am I most concerned about is really is kind of losing humanity, losing our humanity, where everything becomes digitized. I mean, it scares me to death when I go to a friend's house and they have teenage kids, and I see them playing plugged in video games, and they just have no social skills. And they have 100 friends, and they're all digital, right? They're just missing out on so much. What concerns me is, real learning comes from experiences, and I don't mean experiencing digital. And of course, as we see the war on misinformation, and divisiveness. I also think education is due for reevaluation. I love the way you reverse learn in COVID in Khan Academy, and I think. For me, I think education has been best when you were immersed in a physical environment, meeting people, and the time you spend after class sitting late at night chatting with your friends, philosophizing, indulging in things and whatnot. How would you describe the influence of vegan diet and if you're using psychedelics in life? Well, I'm just getting into vegan diet, but it's more balanced. I'm a foodie. I love all sorts of food, but I think picking your battles. If you eat healthy at home during the week, I think you can go balls out and eat whatever you want during on the weekend. And when you go out, I think balancing, like Wonderfruit, we have this thing called hedonistic sustainability. I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying yourself if you balance it out, right? So, but then balance that with a health regime, whether it be NAD, whether it be your supplement diet, but everything can be done with your diet and just some yoga and meditation, right? I think none of this is everything. All of this is already in terms of psychedelics. I mean, psychedelics has been a huge part of my life since I was 15, and clearly now all the science is proven. And I think it's huge I think it's great to start early because it opens up your mind and it increases the size of the pie right off the bat. Right, so right off the bat, you're dealing with a small pie. With psychedelics, it turns it into a pizza, and then you're playing around that size of a boundary in your mind, and creates. But you need to be sensible about it. But I think now it's becoming institutionalized and all that sort of stuff. But I do recommend experimenting. I mean, I've had amazing times, experimenting with Rick Doblin, meeting all these amazing people, and it's done great things for me. I mean, I can imagine friends that I've met that were very rigid have changed what they've done, and as with Burning Man has done that to people and opened their minds. Do I seek or find? Well, I think I seek, and when I seek, you find. Right? Because if you keep your mind open, after you seek, you do find, right? If you're open-minded, you find it. If you're not, then you're never going to find it, right? But I think you need to explore in order to discover. When you explore, you discover. But if you don't keep your eyes closed for as much as you explore, you'll never find it. Well, I think, how do you manage it all, different entrepreneurial balls in the air, and adding to all the networking, connecting? The networking and connecting allows all these doors and things to open that you might not ever happen. I mean, all the things that all the value. I mean, my greatest networking and connecting has come out of experiencing, meeting amazing people who introduce you to amazing people. It hasn't come from LinkedIn. It hasn't come from Facebook or any of that. It has come from, and I can honestly say I'm probably a great networker and connector just because I've created these platforms. So people come to me versus coming to them. And before that, I've been a DJ. So I believe in pull, not push. So just to go back to answering your question before, it's like, if you are interesting and you have value to add and you're doing great things, people are naturally going to come to you. So that's the greatest thing of networking. It's kind of like, to be superficial, if you're good looking, people are going to come to you. You don't have to do anything. So make yourself valuable, and people are going to come to you if you're shy. If not, then you got to be vulnerable, and you got to kind of step it up and show some balls. But how do you manage to fit it all? Well, I think they tell you, what do you, who do you give the work to? You give the work to the busiest guy in the room, because they naturally gravitate towards that, right? I mean, when I was in 2019, when I had my best year, I had so much going on, but it just fed the energy. That energy, it keeps you going, for better or for worse. And it keeps you going. But then when the balloon was popped in 2020, I was the last person you should have talked to, because I was going through the cycles of grief. I was in shock, I was angry, then I was depressed, then I came to accept, and I just kind of changed the paradigm from glass half empty to half full, and then kind of looked at it differently. And then now I'm kind of a little bit back in that kind of mode where, hey, this is Groundhog's Day, and how long this is going to last, and realize, hey, this is going to be more of the same for me. So I think in that sense, the kind of busyness feeds itself to keep you more energy. And if you're kind of lethargic and have nothing going on, naturally that's going to reinforce itself for you to become more lethargic and not want to do anything. And when you do that, it resonates with other people, because they can feel your energy, and they're not going to give you any work, and they're not going to want to work with you. What would you say you're successful and happy because you're a high risk threshold, meaning you are very comfortable with taking risks? I'm super comfortable with taking risks because I don't aim for wealth. I aim for accomplishment, and I aim for, I just enjoy doing things. I think selfishly, the work that I do, when just like DJing, when you have that dopamine fix of just seeing other people happy, selfishly you are happy, right? So it's a kind of a selfish feedback loop. So that's what I aim for. But if on a bigger picture, I don't aim for wealth. I aim for financial freedom, because financial freedom gives me the ability to be happy, which is spend time with my friends, do whatever I want to do, spend time with family. Well, do I ever sleep? Well, I used to never sleep and like to party till the dawn all the time. We're famous for that. But, as you know, with Matthew Walker and the Book of Sleep and all this stuff, I'm involved in investment with silent book, which is breath work, which is the last secret, ancient technology secret, is a lot of health comes in breath. And we know that sleep is actually the most important thing for your sanity, health, and everything else. So I definitely have changed my kind of routine to sleep way more, as long as the baby doesn't wake me up. What's so great about blockchain, crypto, and review? Okay, what's so great about blockchain, crypto, and the view? I think it's one of those things on a macro. I'm not a tech guy, right? But on a macro level, it's the internet, right? It's like the internet. It's putting power into the people. It's a decentralization. It's the transparency, right, of it. And I'm not talking about the cryptocurrency side. I'm just talking about the blockchain side. With BTC, there's a finite amount of currency. People can't just print that much money. It's like 26% of the U.S. currency was printed in the last year, and they're going to print 1.6 trillion more. Right? You can't do that with Bitcoin. Everyone has access to Bitcoin. You don't have to get screwed and pay the $30 US wire transfer fee. You don't have to get treated like shit by a bank teller or whatever. What kept you going in the journey? What are the key obstacles that held you back and you had to overcome? And the pranayama stuff, what style of breath work? There's a lot of different types of breath work. I mean, there's power up, power down, and silent mode. All the ancient ones from India, I'm just starting to study that myself. So I can't tell you I'm an expert, I'll give you that. But so, Kalabati, it's just something I recommend reading, Light on Yoga by Bikram. I'm not by Bikram, by Bikram. But what are the key obstacles that held you back and you had to overcome? I think when I was younger, I think race had a little bit to do with it, older financials do. But I think the biggest things that affect you are really, it's really dealing expectation. If I have my biggest advice I can give of all the mistakes and things that I've done, is, you know, expectations management, change management, dealing with people's personalities, and understanding agency conflict. Those things are the biggest hindrances to progress, because at the end of the day, you could have the best idea in the world, but all those things are things that can stop you from growing. You know, clearly, if you look at clean energy, there's nothing that can deny that clean energy is available and it should be all adopted. But why isn't it? Because there's agency conflict, there's expectations management, there's change management, there's all that stuff. Same with crypto and blockchain. And no matter how great your idea is, if you can't navigate those things, you don't have those set, you will never be successful. And I go through that problem all the time. And it's hard to navigate that because it's not in your control. And I guess some of those soft skills you can learn through negotiation skills and being mindful, being aware, but also you can't control someone else being mindful and aware. Yeah. Do I feel calm when you meditate? There is like I'm really, my energy is extremely active because I'm very passionate about this stuff. This excites me. I mean, I think if I can provide some value to me and I can see that you grow from that, that's great. That again is selfishly something that kind of, you know, turns me on, right? So, but do I feel calm when I meditate? Yep. So one of my things is I'm such ADD that, you know, it's my thing. It's my life. It's kind of thing that I need to learn how to meditate and have the discipline to continually do that. It's not easy to calm the mind. And there's lots of different types of meditation. I mean, Naval Ravikant has this thing where he sits every day for 60 minutes and it's not just sitting, empty your mind. It's just let the mind go and think. And that's a different kind of meditation, right? So I just was learning about that. I mean, I think that might work better for me than trying to just keep an empty mind, although that's probably useful as well, because clearly that resets your neuro, you know, the neural pathways. What has been my happiest moment? I mean, you know, as the cliches go, you know, getting married, my son being born, spending time with my son. I mean, you know, every DJ gig that I do well, when I can see people having a great time. You know, every time I put on an event, it's great when I able to kind of push myself and learn new things, and you know, when I'm able to kind of accept my failures and grow and learn through them. All those things are great. Guys, I just realized my phone's gonna die soon, so please excuse me, and I hope I've done you guys justice. But where do I see myself in 5 years? I think I see myself in 5 years in continuing moving this path. You know, I'd love to build a permanent community, permaculture community in Bali, and connect with the rest of the world of people who are aligned with what I do, that we're about. So whether it be Dekai or Michael's unit or whatever. And, you know, so basically the evolution of everything that I've done, the next step is really a permanent digital and physical community, right? So the next iteration of community events like BM or Wonderfruit would be really, the next evolution is further being aligned with values and alignment of that, and, you know, tying it with the meta networks, market networks, because where market networks is the next step, but also tying these events to impact and action, right? The next step is how do you inspire and hold yourself accountable to physical action that's measurable, right? It's great to have all these people together, great to inspire, great to connect, but what is the output in terms, where's the quantifiable output that actually helps the world or the community you're in, right? So I think that's the next step. But first we had to get to the point where people are adopting and seeing value in these type of events. And we've evolved from just a mindless festival, like Ultra Music Festival, to mindless festivals. And then the next phase is how do you get into a point where you are now, you're now creating impact for people, right? Whether it's yourself or others. with that said, I just want to say thank you very much for having me and hope it was useful. My phone is about to die any second, so sorry about that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Jason, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah. Please, ping me anytime on LinkedIn or Facebook, WhatsApp as well, unit chat, and happy to have longer chats. And if I can help anyone in any way, happy to do so. If there's ways to collaborate in any way, I would love to do so. And if any of you guys have got any great content you want to showcase at Wonderfruit or any of our events, let me know.